Let's talk about this today. We are again in the time of, whether you're in Canada, whether you're in the States, things are reopening. Things will continue to reopen. People will continue. Here's the take home. People are going to start calling your clinics if they haven't already. And so far, over multiple states, I've talked to 3 or 4 states. So I would say a diverse part, because one's West Coast, Midwest, East Coast. East Coast, I think, is going to be a little slower, especially where I am. But if you're in the Midwest and West, I think you're going to, this is going to be true, that you're going to get more and more people calling the clinic, and it's going to be, hi, this is Jerry. Yeah. So are you guys open? Are you guys seeing patients? It's going to start there, because by the way, I'm listening to recordings, just so you know, none of this stuff is made up. I'm listening to recordings from a couple different clinics right now in a couple different states, because that's what I do to do the front desk training. And it's not only important what's going on the other end of the phone, meaning the person who answered. What's important is to listen to that person who's calling. And I think, I'm going to be brutally honest, I think this gets lost at times. This, what do I need to do, right? And this is what today's about. It's, what does my front desk need to do? And I'm like, well, more importantly, what do your patients need from you? So I was thinking going into this call that it would be great if I could survey every practice owner, business owner, clinic owner, practice manager, front desk manager, and just say to them, what do your patients need from you? And you know what I would like to do? I would like to ask that of those people, and then I'd like to ask the front desk people. Because I believe the front desk people are truly going to give us a different answer than the practice owners. And so unfortunately, this is a little off, but unfortunately, we don't turn to the front desk people to help us solve the problems of some of our business metrics. We tell them to solve the problem in the current system that we've created. We don't allow them to give feedback on the system. And so instead of saying, hey, Becky, hey, Bill, how do you believe we can fix this cancel problem? How do you believe we can fix this arrival problem, which is going to be your problem from here forward? This first visit arrival problem. We don't ask them, how do you think we can fix this? We say, you need to fix this. I need you to do A, B, and C. That's very different than asking them, how do you think we could fix this? And when you do that, you're going to get a thoughtful answer. And probably the first answer is going to be them saying, well, I really don't know, because they're probably afraid to share what they're thinking, because no one's ever talked about it. They don't want to be wrong. They don't want to be seen as foolish. And so they say, well, I really don't know how we should fix it. Well, I'll just try to get more people scheduled. I'll just tell more people about the cancel policy, right? But just a little bit of a tangent, but if you would ask your front desk, how would you solve this problem, and not talk and then let them talk? I think you'll learn a lot about why people need you, what issues people are bringing. And the better you, the owner, and the person doing the training understands this, the better you can solve the problems we're going to talk about today. So the first, I think I counted back, I think we're in week 9 of this, if I'm not mistaken. The first week in March that this started, not the first week in March when this started, the first 7 to 10 days, was 14 days maybe, was about solving the immediate problems of, how are we going to keep the business afloat, right? We all went through it. I went through it. Clinics went through it. Everybody went through it. Then it was time to do things quickly. Then it was time to quickly take a step back and go, okay, this will end. So the energy and the money and the time I'm burning now during that first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, how do I need to make sure what I'm doing is what I need to do coming out the backside? Coming out the other side. And I started that phrase, wiser and stronger out the other side, pretty quickly, because I didn't just want people doing busy work to make a buck on March 20th that was going to do nothing for them come June 1st, May 15th. So as these Facebook Lives continued to go during this whole COVID event, they've started to fade back to, and probably this title doesn't look much different than a title I would have used in January. Right? October of last year. because I'm going to tell you what you need to do today is all laid in a foundation of what you need to do going forward. People calling your clinic today, this is interesting. I really want you to listen to this part and think about this. People calling your clinic today need to be managed the same exact way they needed to be managed 6 months ago, a year ago. On that statement, it's not, oh, I told you so. Oh, it's more important now, part two of that. It's more important now than it ever was. Because think about this, because you're going to get back into the clinic and you're going to have your front desk picking up the phone and you're going to tell them, get everybody scheduled. And that's not going to work. And I'm going to argue that regardless of what your vacancy rate looked like, regardless of what your new patient numbers look like, it wasn't working before, because the drop-offs, the cancels, things like that are a far greater indicator of your front desk process and your sales process. Let's say that word today, your sales process than anything else. So getting people scheduled is just a step. It can't be a metric. It can't be a metric. It can't be a desired outcome. It can't be a goal. It's just a step. So if you're telling people, if you're telling your front desk, your front line sales machine, the entry point to your business, if you're telling people there to get people scheduled, you are selling them way short. You are setting them up for failure, because they will fail with the person on the phone, your ultimate customer. So I need you to think of this. Your front desk person is your sales team. I don't care if you don't like that term or not. It's the way we got to think about it. And we'll talk about sales and the definition of sales next week, because it's not for this week. They are your sales team. And in order to set your sales team up for success, they must know as much about the business as everybody else does. Think about that for a second. Because go back to what I said at the beginning. Because I would ask your front desk team, what are you selling here? Well, I'm not selling anything. Okay, so what is your role here? Well, my role is to get people scheduled. So I'd say, so you're selling visits. And if you think about that for a second. Does anybody want a front desk team that's selling visits? No. So why are you telling your front desk team to get people scheduled? Getting people scheduled is what results in more drop-offs, right? Getting people scheduled is what results in more cancels. Getting people scheduled is what results in more dissatisfied providers, because they don't have the people sitting in front of them set up for success, right? I always say the role of the front desk team in phase 2 of the patient life cycle is to set the providers and patients up for success. So think about that. If I ask your front desk team, what is their role in the business? They'll give me all this shit, all these tasks they have to do. They'll tell me they have to get people scheduled as part of that task. They'll tell me they have to do insurance benefit checks. They'll tell me all these tasks they have to do. And I'll say, is that truly your role in the business? Or is your role in the business to put people in front of the providers that will arrive, pay, stay, and do your marketing for you? And I guarantee you there'll be a lot of dead air. In my world, and in my training, and in the people I work with, that's the role of the front desk person, the person answering the new patient calls. Their role in the business is to put people in front of the providers who will arrive, pay, stay, and do your marketing for you. Your front desk team is your sales team. There is more than one sales cycle in your company and business. And your front desk is the very first touch point in the very first sales cycle. And if they're not hired with that mindset, if they're not trained with that mindset, then you are setting the business up for failure. You, the owner, the practice manager, everybody else, not the front desk person, right? So not understanding the role, not understanding the patient life cycle, not understanding, let's go this direction. Not understanding your client is basically a coin flip. It's running a business based on coin flips. And the problem with, it'd be interesting in our profession, if we only got paid for completed plans of care. Wouldn't that be interesting? You think healthcare and business our physio, we'll just say, you think the business of physical therapy would look different? You think it'd be managed differently? Right now, most clinics and owners are happy being paid by visit, right? I need more new patients. I don't care if I have 100 visits or 100 new patients who come in, right? Think about that for a second. I need 200 visits this month. Well, do you want 200 people scheduled once? And do you want all the time, money, and energy going into that? Or just for argument's sake, let's say you average, because I'm not a math guy, let's say you average 10 visits per case, right? So instead of saying, I need 200 new patients seen once, how about 20 new patients seen 10 times? Think about that for a second. The load, the time load, the money load, the energy load is far different for that. And by the way, if you think about that, the load on different members of the team is different. So again, if you look at your front desk as the beginning of the first sales cycle in your business, if you look at the front desk as a salesperson, if you look at the front desk person as a person who must understand the whole patient life cycle and the process and must know the needs and wants of this potential patient, potential client, that's the other interesting thing. When the phone rings and your front desk picks up and says, hello, ABC Physiotherapy, how can I help you? And someone says, yes, I want to get scheduled. That is a potential patient. That is not a paying customer. That is not someone who's committed their time, money, and energy to your practice, to ABC Physiotherapy. And your front desk must handle them that way. And your front desk must understand what? The wants and the needs of that person. This is why coming out the other side of this, beginning now, probably beginning a week ago, your front desk has become more important, right? Because part of getting to the wants and needs is understanding the fear, doubt, and uncertainty of your potential patient. And this was true the day before COVID hit. This was true through all time and will be true going forward. Yet, as I've shared, the fear, doubts, and uncertainties of your potential customers and the priorities of those have shifted. So again, there's nothing wrong with selling, right? So the problem is we all bring our negative impact and our negative interpretation of selling, but selling done right is hard work. And it's interesting how most things that require hard work, people like to skip over. So what we like to do is we like to say, we don't sell. I don't sell. Healthcare is not about selling. I'm like, what's motivation? What's getting someone to agree to a plan of care? What is that? That's selling. So you can, every time I say selling, if you don't like that word, just flip in motivation or getting to buy into something. Doesn't matter. It's the same principles. And great salespeople, right, make it about the other person. Great salespeople understand the needs and the wants of the other person. Great salespeople never make it about them. Here's a key. Great salespeople never make it about themselves. They make it about the other person. And so when your front desk answers that phone and hears, hi, yeah, my name's Jerry. I was wondering if you were open, right? That's when this journey begins. That's when the sales process begins. That's when your front desk starts to dig in and know that they need to get all this information to work through this fear, doubt, and uncertainty, to manage and set expectations. So what? So that they can set the provider and business and patient up for success. And unless they do that, it's a coin flip. And then you have your 20, 30% drop off rate. You have your 12, 15% or greater cancel rate. Cancel rates and drop offs are the immediate tell and canary in the coal mine for your patient's life cycle, for their experience within your business. It's also an immediate tell on your sales systems. The first sales system is that front desk. The second sales system starts during the evaluation. So your provider becomes a salesperson, and again has to manage these needs and wants and expectations that were what? Given to them by the front desk person who started the process. That's the beauty of this. Each sales, so your front desk has the hardest sales job in the company, right? Every provider would argue they do. And I say, no, you know why? I don't disagree that you have to sell and you got to do work as a provider, but I disagree because your front desk sets you up for success, because all that information that your front desk gathered, now the second salesperson, that provider, has that information to make their sell. What's that? Get the patient to buy into a plan of care. So, it's really important for you to think about this, because again, when your front desk picks up the phone and hears, hi, are you open today? Again, the process starts. And again, your front desk, I started with this, must know what you're selling. And if you're selling physical therapy or you're selling visits, this might not be the right place for you to hang out. If you're open to hearing what you need to sell, then this is the right place to be. And this is, by the way, if you go back 3 weeks and watch the Facebook Live on, selling telehealth, it takes you through this whole process. So actually, I'd highly recommend, rather than me making a 50-minute video out of this, go back and watch a Facebook Live in this. Just scroll back through my feed. I don't post much here, so it should mostly be Facebook Lives. Go back and watch the one about selling telehealth. And I take you through that. Because if your front desk is told they're scheduling or selling visits and selling physical therapy or selling telehealth, you're setting them up for failure, because they're never going to get to people's fear, doubts, and uncertainties. And your front desk, this is my favorite one. Everybody tells me their front desk cares. That is such a minimal standard that caring is never going to get you the business success you want. Getting people scheduled is not a business metric. It's a step in a process. To what? Arrival. Did your patient arrive? Tell your front desk their job is to get people to arrive. Think about that mindset. Jerry, I need you when you answer that phone to get people scheduled, right? And I go through my checklist and I make the whole call about us, the business. Remember the me versus you, right? Remember, a great salesperson never makes it about themselves. But yet, when I do secret callers, everybody's just checking boxes for the business. So I check the boxes for the business. We get done. I say, okay, you're scheduled for Thursday at 10:30. They say, great. I hang up. My job is done. I am successful. If you tell people their job is to get scheduled. If my job is to get people to arrive, then I start switching the intake phone call to them. And then part of that arrival check boxes is their schedule. And then when I hang up, now I do start the process to get them to arrive. And I know I'm going to have to follow up with them. And I know there's an email to go out. And I know there's welcome emails. And until they walk in the clinic, right, my job is not done. That's my sales cycle as the front desk person. So if I understand that it can't be about me, if I understand what I'm selling, if I understand what are the concerns of our potential patients, then I'm moving somewhere. But if I'm just told to check these boxes off and get people scheduled, it's never going to work. And it's not going to work tomorrow. I promise you. Right? I posted yesterday, how do you know? I say this all the time. I do this with front desk people that I train. I've always done it with them. So we go through a call. I listen to a recorded call. They hang up the call. And the first question I ask the front desk person is, after we listen to that new patient phone call, that they got scheduled or not, well, let's say they got them scheduled. My very first question is, why will they arrive? Why will they arrive? Because that's all that matters for the front desk process. Because remember, they start the first sales cycle, and then they're going to hand it off to the provider with all this great information they collected on this potential patient. They're going to hand that to the provider, and then the provider is going to start their sales cycle. But your front desk job is to get people to arrive.